In this video, I'm going to clean up the audio of a podcast in post-production. I think this is nothing short of a miracle. Let's see what you think. Welcome to Podcast Gym, where we share valuable insights, resources, and advice to grow your podcast. This video accompanies a Podcast Gym newsletter article entitled Podcast Audio Matters More Than You Think. Here's why. Check the comments for a link. Also, go to podcastgym.com/newsletter to subscribe. You'll get my newsletter email that I write every 2 weeks. My friend John has a podcast called High Sessions Podcast. High Sessions is a popular YouTube channel that features high-quality recordings of musicians in Hawaii. Check it out. This Mike Love video has 34 million views. John has a separate channel for the High Sessions podcast where you can get interviews and behind the scenes of the High Sessions channel. I listened to his latest episode with Chef John Matsubara because they talked about lobster rolls. I love lobster roll. You can see here that they recorded on location at the restaurant. Restaurants can be tough because there are refrigerators and air conditioners. Compressors are really loud, and often you cannot tell the restaurant owner to turn the refrigerators off. Let's take a listen.
Of innovations
during a very tricky period. So this happened.
You hear that background noise? There are studies that show that audio quality influences how listeners perceive the host's credibility and trustworthiness. Not to mention, this background noise takes away from my listening experience no matter how much I love lobster roll. With audio quality, typically I believe strongly in garbage in, garbage out, so it's really important to do what you can to get as clean and good a signal to capture on the front end. That way, you really don't have to do that much cleaning up afterwards. With this file though, I'm confident that I can clean up the audio using 2 or 3 plugins. Here's my DAW, my digital audio workstation. I'm working in Reaper, but you can use Premiere, Pro Tools, GarageBand. It really doesn't matter. I like Reaper. I have 2 tracks here. I already downloaded the audio of the podcast episode. I'm going to drag it into this track. And let's take a listen. Let me put it around here.
Kyle forgot it was a Monday, so he's not going to be here today. But
we told him it was at a restaurant too, and he still couldn't remember.
Well,
do you think that kind of stuff?
Well, I'll introduce our guest in a second. Before we begin, let me...
So you can really hear that background noise. So we're going to take care of that first. Today, I'm going to use 3 different plugins. They're all Waves plugins. Waves Clarity VX, Waves CLA Vocals, and Waves Vocal Rider. And I will show you what each one does. So this background noise first, I'm going to use Clarity VX, and I love this plugin because it's so simple. It removes background noise using some kind of AI neural network, and it just has 1 dial, and then really just 2 settings. It has Broad 1, Broad 2, and you can see here it says Broad 1 is for better for keeping voice detail in secondary speech. And Broad 2, better for severe ambiance, keeps mostly main vocals close mic. So I'm going to put it on Broad 1 first and take a listen.
Introduce our guest in a second. Before we begin, let me remind our listeners of all the ways they can stay in touch with the show. There is Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at High Sessions. Of course, you can go to SoundCloud, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts to listen to the podcast. And of course, you can email us at highsessions@yahoo.com. If you'd like to help the show get more music on the channel, you can go to patreon.com and donate. Then you'll be more involved with the show and help determine who and what is filmed. I'd like to
turn that back up.
Julie from Honolulu.
I'm going to crank it up to
Julie,
90.
Thank you so much for signing up. And at the perfect time, because she gets a 2022 custom High Sessions shirt.
Score.
And then
And that is so much cleaner already. I think that that's a miracle. I'm going to add a little bit of, I'm going to use a little compression using CLA Vocals. I really like this plugin. It has reverb, compression, delay. It has a bunch of different settings used for vocals for singing, really. but it works great for podcasting. I like under this compression, I like the wall setting. And I think, just 0.5 or 1.0, you just need a little bit. And let me show you what that sounds like.
Next month, you'll get the 2023
Wow.
High Sessions
See?
system shirt. So we have a new shirt every year that we put out. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Koopa Koopa Landscaping, Landscape Architects. You can call Kevin Yokomura, 808-722-8685 for a free estimate.
Can you hear the difference? This is without.
Of course,
This is with.
Ford Ruger Market. We're not at Ford Ruger Market, but we'd like to thank them for all their support over the year. And of course, you can find Devin, Kumu, 94.7.
It's kind of subtle, but just makes it a little bit louder and easier to hear. I think it just pushes it forward a little bit. And where you'll really hear the difference is that if you're listening to the podcast in a car, when you have some compression, you can just hear it better with the car and road noise. You don't have to turn the volume as loud. So I'm going to turn that up to like 0.8, maybe. And then Vocal Rider, I don't know if you can see here, the waveform kind of spikes up in volume and then gets quieter. And there are some louder spikes. And when I was listening to the show, you can hear when somebody's laughing close to the mic, it just gets really loud. And Vocal Rider will help to ride the fader, but it does it for you. So you don't have to sit here and adjust the volume throughout the whole show. You can set it to do this for you. Let me show you.
Find Kyle at highlightclothing.com. You can go to
So
Team Yamasato.
I just put this dial to where the volume is.
All right. So introducing
then
our
I can
guest
say,
today, John
this is
Matsubaru is the head
where I want
chef
the floor.
at Feast.
He's the
This
owner.
is where I want the
Owner?
ceiling.
All right.
Local eatery in Honolulu and home of the original Hawaii-style lobster roll.
Yep.
And I
So
was
we can just
thinking
make
on my
this much-
drive here, there's, like, when you think of, I would take crab over lobster
Oh, I need to hear.
any day of the week.
There we
But
go.
when it comes to the lobster roll, there's nothing better, I
Yeah.
think, than the lobster roll. So
I want a little bit more of this.
I'm sure you agree.
Well,
There we go.
it was
It's supposed to be a special, and then
well, yeah. I mean, it was created during a very tricky period. So this happened during COVID when restaurants were closing, and people were losing their jobs, and
All right. So if you take a look here, you can see that. Where is this? Okay. So you can see here that without Vocal Rider, you have these peaks. It gets louder, it gets softer. But once I add Vocal Rider, it's just a much tighter waveform. You're getting a more uniform loudness, and you're not getting as many, peaks and valleys or spikes in volume. So this is amazing. Let me just demonstrate for you what it sounds like with the effects and without these three effects.
inflation was going up. And so who would want to spend all this money on an expensive lunch item? Everyone was going down. And my wife's like, you got to make a lobster roll. And I said,
Wow.
what? That goes against everything I've ever learned in this industry.
right.
But as fate would have it,
So this is no
because all
effects.
the restaurants were closing and the industry was shutting down, people were trying to
Here it
move
is with
the lobster
effects.
because they had it in inventory. So they were getting really good deals.
Oh, okay.
So I scooped up the entire lot. I created this lobster roll, and the thing went
Without?
viral. The thing went. I've never seen anything go viral in my 30 years of cooking. I've never worked
then
at a
with
restaurant
effects.
where we sold over 300 of one item. So we sold. It came down to when we were really busy, we sold one per minute.
What?
We'd have to open up half an hour before.
So what do you think? Modern day miracle? I think so. As a listener, for me, it's like night and day between having these effects and plugins versus not having them at all. It really helps to make a more pleasant listening experience. It helps with the clarity, and I can really focus on the content and not be distracted by the background noise. I hope that you'll join me. Make your podcast sound the best that it possibly can. Try these plugins out, see if they work for you. Thank you so much for joining me at Podcast Gym.